Hi, my name's Danielle, and welcome back to episode 3 of my High Plains life. It's June 14th, Flag Day here in the United States, and I realized that one of the projects on my honey-do list that we have yet to get done is installing the flag holder on the front porch. Oops. But we'll make sure we have it up by the 4th of July so that we're not the odd ones out in the neighborhood and we have our flag up too along with everyone else. Welcome back to everybody who watched episodes 1 and 2 or who just are now finding my podcast. And thank you to everybody who gave feedback again. I appreciate it. To begin, in the mug, I have tea. It's Bigelow Earl Grey tea. Just a nice little hit of caffeine. And something warm because it's been another rainy week. I do have some of my own honey in it for a little sweetener, so sometimes it's good to be a beekeeper. I'm going to skip on the road this week and also gone to the dogs. And those episodes, I'm only going to do one or the other of them intermittently as I continue with future episodes. So that brings us to On the Needles. And I have a finished object to show you again. This is my Drift by Tin Can Knits, and I knit it in, I have threads all over it, Juniper Moon Farm Moonshine in the colorway 13. I know, it's a great name. And Moonshine is 50% merino, 30% alpaca, 20% silk. It's a crazy, insane, luscious yarn. It's absolutely beautiful. And Drift, let's see if I can get, is a beautiful shawl with all these cables going across it. It's absolutely lovely. I have a shawl pin with some jade on the end that I normally wear with it to hold it on my shoulders. And I have 2 extra skeins of this yarn, and I told myself I was going to enlarge the shawl and just continue with the cable pattern before I reached the edge ruffle, and when I got to that point, I totally forgot about it, my plan to make it larger. So now I have 2 skeins of this yarn, and they're just all lonely by themselves because it's not enough to do another project with. But it's so luscious, I don't want to just get rid of it. So I'm thinking either a matching hat or a pair of fingerless mittens with them, but they are a single ply yarn, so it can't really take a lot of touchy-feely motion or it will felt. So I guess a hat it is. Problem solved. And so again, this is my Drift by Tin Can Knits, knit in Juniper Moon Farm. And I absolutely love it. If you can get the cables, it's a beautiful cable crossover pattern. Now to Purloin from another podcaster, Oh Snit, which is for knitters. That's right. It's just out of reach. Do not have my crossover top finished this week because I discovered that I knit my shoulders too short, so I had to take out the bind off on the 2 front pieces and continue my shoulders straps up about another 3 or 4 inches, so significantly made them too short. so that it gives them enough room to attach to the back piece. So, not a finished object this week. I did knit on my Atlantic Current socks, but only like 2 rows, so you won't even be able to tell the difference. And that's about it for knitting. I did go to prayer shawl ministry at my church this Thursday for the very first time. I am doing it because I'm trying to get more involved with my community and to meet new people and make new friends. I might seem like an extrovert because I tend to be this big, loud personality, but meeting new people is really hard for me, and I actually have more introverted tendencies than extrovert, because I would be totally happy just staying at home in my house every day, all the time. As long as I had knitting needles and yarn and fabric in my sewing machine, I'd be fine. And that's not healthy, so I'm trying to get out and meet new people and try new things. So I did cast on a garter stitch shawl, but I didn't get very far, and I'm using acrylic yarn. So when I get a little further next week, I'll bring it up and show it to you. I know I'm a yarn snob, but I'm using acrylic yarn. Once you've knit with the nice stuff, you can really tell the difference. It's amazing. Sorry. And I do have some spinning to show you. I'm currently still working on my loop bump, and I've only made it through. I'm just starting to get into a very slightly lighter color green. From the center where it started in the dark juniper, and it's just slightly lightening up a little. But check out my cool 3D printed bobbin. That's right. It is a free 3D printer pattern on Thingiverse. I love MakerBot. It's awesome. I love 3D printers. I love Thingiverse. There are companies out there that sell 3D printed bobbins for my Lendrum spinning wheel, and they're kind of expensive. And by the time you buy the bobbins and pay for shipping and stuff, I'm trying to save money. And when there's a free pattern out there, I don't have a 3D printer, but I have friends who do. So I just gave them money for supplies and their time, and they printed me out, still getting used to left and right, this 3D printed bobbin. Isn't it cool? 3D printing, people. That's right. I'm an engineer at heart. I love geeky stuff like that. Sorry, did I just let my geek flag fly? That's right. That's okay. You all know the truth about me now. Oh, come on. If you were already my friend before, you knew I had that geek factor. You knew it. You probably have one too. Sorry, I was going to try to stop saying I'm a better speaker than this, I promise. Really. I do have something to show for under the needles, and that's why I didn't get as much knitting done this week, is because I got some quilting done instead. I attended a workshop yesterday, which is why I'm recording on Sunday instead of Saturday. The quilt workshop was offered through my local quilting guild, which I'm a member of, and that is, yeah, if I say the name, you'll know exactly where I'm at. I don't know if I care. Well, the workshop was offered through my local quilting guild, and the instructor was an tongue twister. Was it Net or Neelis? Or no? I apologize for butchering your name. But the quilt we worked on was Waves of Glory. And I chose to do the full quilt size instead of the wall hanging size. And I got every single one of my blocks pieced. There's 20 blocks. Yay. So I spent Friday cutting fabric and Saturday quilting. Yay. I have 5 star blocks done. Yay. And I love them because they are not equal. What do you call it? Asymmetrical. Hi, engineer should know these words. And I got all of my red stripe blocks done. So now I did my reds in 5 different fabrics to kind of give it a scrap look. So now I have to lay them out on my design board and figure out what pattern I want them to go in, and then I can stitch my blocks together. And once I have my rows together, I will come back in. This is hard to show vertically. And these are 3-dimensional. Whoa, left and right. These are 3-dimensional. See, look at that little pocket. So I'll come back in. Pull that down and top stitch it, and that will give me waves. So it will appear like my white and my reds are waving. Isn't that awesome? I know. So, podcast universe, hold me to this. I want to get this done. My goal is to get this done by the 4th of July. Ha, 2 weeks. At least the top done with the borders on. No way am I going to have it quilted in by then. But top pieced, borders on. I can do that. Absolutely. So, it's your responsibility to hold me to that. I expect you to jump all over me if I'm not finished by then and show you a finished quilting object. We'll see. I also want to show you some other UFOs, which are unfinished objects, that I have. I am not at a loss for them here in my craft room. Needless to say, I have a lot of unfinished objects. Another workshop I attended 2 years ago. I know, right? Totally horrible. Procrastinator. Bad. This is by, I have the book, Carolyn Cullinan McCormick, Wedding Ring, Pickle Dish, and More. And I love this. And here's the double wedding ring quilt. And I did the table runner. And this is paper piecing, which means paper piecing. Follow the numbers. A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the thing is, I love these fabrics. They're 1800 reproduction fabrics. I do have the table runner top completed. Look at that. A table runner. Ready. Ready for quilting and binding. Have I finished it yet? No. So, one more UFO languishes in my craft room. I will get this done. I do not know by when, but I'm showing you the things that I would like to put a deadline to get them accomplished by. And I'm doing my own version of finisher frog, basically. And instead of with knitting, it's with quilting. I either finish some of these UFOs up or I get rid of them. And I started them because I love them, so I don't want to get rid of them. I want to finish them. I would like to have quilts to hang up on the wall and to put on the bed. That's why I do this, because I love looking at the fabric. Beautiful fabric. So that's an old project and a new project that I'd like to get done this summer. And that's all I have for Under the Needle. As I mentioned, I'll be skipping Gone to the Dogs, but I do have an In the Garden segment. I am going to show you the progress of my clematis and my hops and show you what some of the plants in my yard, the ones that are blooming. I tried to plant flowers that would bloom successively throughout the summer and be attractive to bees and hummingbirds and butterflies. 1, to bring them into my yard. 2, to provide an environment for them. And 3, the more nectar they have, the more honey I get. That's how things work. So, without further ado, here's some shots from my garden. My clematis is starting to bloom, and you can see all the buds just waiting to open. Here's my hops progress this week. I need to prune the additional bines at the bottom again. They'll continue growing and I'll continue pruning. And I have 2 bines that have made it to the top, and 1 has made it halfway across the top of my fence post in just 1 week. I'm going to show you some of my plants that are blooming at this time, and actually have some honeybees working. My Nepeta Walker Low catmint, and I try to have something blooming throughout the season so that I do have something for my bees to work. And let's see if I can get a shot of my bees on them. There. They're tiny little suckers. Okay, and I have a catmint in the backyard and 1 in the front yard. In the Beeyard, I showed you last week how my hive with Queen Elena swarmed. I'm hoping I have a new Queen Fiona. I am unable to verify this because, as I stated, it has been pretty crappy weather again all week. There's been a few spots of sunshine and a couple nice days, but I have not made it back out to the Beeyard in order to check. And that is my goal for this next week, is to get back into the hive, see if I can find the queen, make sure she's started laying. Fingers crossed, blogiverse. Come on. And hope that there wasn't such a disruption in brood schedule that I won't be able to get any honey off that hive this summer. Oh well. A few of you have asked, swarming is not good. Swarming is bad for a beekeeper. It's good in nature, bad for a beekeeper. Because what happens is half of the hive population, or at least the foragers, the ones that are ones that are flying, so the foragers and a large, a good percentage of the hive population fly off, leave the hive, and take the old queen with them. This is nature's way of creating new bee colonies. And in nature, this is good because the more pollinators, the better. For a beekeeper, this is bad because it means you've just lost half your population. You've lost a good laying queen. You have a disruption in the brood schedule now, so your population's taken a hit. Your future population will take a hit, and generally means less honey production throughout the summer, which as a beekeeper, that's what you're going for, is honey. One of the things. So while I am glad that my bees were strong enough and thriving enough that they felt the urge to swarm, that they could divide the population successfully, I am stuck without a queen temporarily, and can only hope that my new one got mated okay in all this rain, and we'll have a lower population with which to make honey. So swarming's bad for a beekeeper. There are techniques you can use to try and prevent it, and that's adding more boxes. Add more brood boxes. Super early, super often. That's the mantra. A super is basically a medium-sized box. So you have mediums and, well, you have smalls, but I don't know anybody who uses a small size box, which is like 5 inches or something. And then there's mediums, which are like 6 3/4 inches deep, maybe. And then there's deeps, which are like 12 inches. I don't know. I don't make my own equipment. I order it. Everything fits together. You just use the frames in the size boxes they go to. Yay! It all fits. Generally, the deeps are used for the brood chambers, and the mediums are used for honey supers. Some people work all mediums, and I think that's a great idea. That keeps the weight of your boxes down. But it's not quite as practical in a cold winter area like Colorado, because you really want to give them as large a population as you can going into the winter, with some good stores and the least amount of exposure to the elements, I guess, is the term I want to use. And that increases their odds of them making it through the winter. So, okay, tangent. Sorry. You have your small, your mediums, and your deep boxes. The deeps are generally used for the brood boxes, which is where the queen lays the eggs. Mediums are generally used for the honey supers, where the worker bees make the honey. They might also store some pollen in there, although that's generally around the brood. Next week, I will hopefully have a good frame of brood to show you how they lay the eggs and then have a row of pollen and then some nectar around it. So keep your fingers crossed that I have a good frame to show you next week. Okay, and I was saying this because they said super early, super often. Ha! Another term for medium frames are supers, because they go on top. Yeah. Google it. Adding boxes to give the population room to grow can help prevent swarming. Some people do intentional splits, where you literally split the population of your hive. So you go from 1 colony to 2. So you're doing a forced swarm, like a controlled swarm. And that way you reduce their population and you get 2 hives from one. You also probably won't get any honey off them that year, but you've just made another hive for yourself. So the year after, you'll get double the honey. Yay! Okay, took a break. This intentional split is particularly helpful if your Beeyard is not right where you can see it, so that if they swarm, like mine are in an outyard. So when they swarmed, I had no idea they did it. I didn't see them. I couldn't catch them. That is when an intentional split is good. I did not think my population was large enough for me to do a split on, and I did add an empty box on top. So I thought I had stopped them from swarming in time. Once they get that urge to swarm, it's almost impossible to stop. So just gotta let them do it. Hope they requeen themselves, or you can get a new queen in to requeen yourself if you kill all your swarm cells, if you remove them and destroy them all before a new queen has gotten out. Otherwise, she might kill your introduced queen, and there's money down the drain. So swarming, good in nature, bad for a beekeeper. I'd like to thank everybody for watching this week, and I hope you learned something new and I didn't just babble on to myself. And I would love to see you back next week, where hopefully I have some good news regarding my beehive and my knitting for you. Thanks. Have a good day.